Well, we look forward obviously to the conclusion of the electoral process here, and it is welcome obviously. The timetable has been set for the presidential election, and of course, after that there'll be the formation of the government. And I think we are very keen to ensure that obviously everything runs smoothly and that the government comes together soon afterwards so that governance of Somalia can take place thereafter. And I think importantly as well, there are a number of issues, where we have some shared interests within the international community. The United Kingdom has been very clear in terms of our support for Somalia, both in terms of the political process, the elections, also seeing new parliamentarians become elected to Parliament as well. And so we want to see a government that comes together and a government that acts on behalf of the people of Somalia.
With the war drop in Somalia, the international community, which UK is part, has appealed for funding drought victims in Somalia. Tell me about what your country is part of this humanitarian appeal. What is UK doing to assist the Somalis during this time?
So the United Kingdom is one of the leading donors to Somalia on the humanitarian drought crisis that is now taking place. And this is a very, very serious situation. And I can announce that I have announced that we have increased our funding with an additional £10 million coming for drought relief and drought assistance. I met with our humanitarian partners earlier on today to very specifically discuss with them the extent of the crisis, where the resources are needed and how we can work together to bring the support. And I think we should be very clear here, this is a severe situation, there's no doubt about that. And the United Kingdom and myself in my role and my capacity as the Secretary of State for International Development will be calling upon other donors in the international community to ask them as well to step up and to contribute more funds for this drought situation.
What is the international community, including UK, to support the Somali women parliament?
So our support has been very much about nurturing and engaging with civil society for the elections obviously, but in particular to bolster the representation in Parliament, and particularly the representation of women in Parliament as well. And I think it should be a moment of great pride actually for all Somalians, the fact that there are over 50% of the new parliamentarians are new, they're young people from across the country, but also that more women are being represented there as well. And that's important for a number of reasons. A, in terms of having a representative democracy, but also ensuring that the views of women are articulated and are represented in the political process.
29 out of 275 MPs, Somali MPs, are British ambassadors.
Yes.
According to UK ambassador to Somalia, says it's a great sign. What is the UK reaction to that?
Well, I think there's no doubt the bonds between our two countries are incredibly strong. We have a very strong Somalian diaspora community in the UK, and I think the ties are such that obviously we have been supporting and very active in Somalia for a considerable period of time. And also when you look at the representation in Parliament too, I think those ties have become stronger because of the links between our two countries.
Thank you. Later this year there will be a London conference. What will be focused on that?
Well, the conference, the London conference, when it takes place, will be of great importance and significance for Somalia, but also I think for the international community's approach to Somalia as well. We are going to be hosting the conference in London alongside the United Nations. And importantly, there are a range of issues, I think long-term issues, that need to be raised and discussed. Importantly, looking at the National Development Plan, looking at the Security Pact that goes forward as well, and some of the issues that really require a long-term roadmap where we can see peace and stability and stabilisation come into Somalia over a considerable period of time to ensure that that opens up the gateway and the avenue for prosperity and economic development for the country, but also for all Somalians to feel the benefit of.
There were conferences in London, for example, the New Deal conference, which was held in London, I think 2 years ago. How is this conference initial for Somalia?
Well, I think importantly, this is a progression on from the previous conferences. That's important because, of course, we can now look to the future with a newly elected parliament here, with a new president being in place and a new government being in place as well. We can look to the future where there are some very important issues, as I've already touched on, security being one, but also the prosperity agenda as well, working with some of the financial institutions around the world, whether it's the World Bank or the IMF, to look at some of the issues on debt or concessional finance, or catalysing new investment opportunities in Somalia. So I see this conference as part of the journey for Somalia. Yes, there have been previous conferences which have helped to convene the world, the international community, to have a very strong and good focus on Somalia. Now we need to look to the future, post the democratic process that has taken place in Somalia, and look at how we can bring, yes, peace and stability, but also the economic prosperity.
My last question. UK deployed Somali military which supports Somali government, and in terms of AMISOM, what are their role in Somalia?
Well, the United Kingdom, as I've already said, we have a very strong strategic relationship and partnership with Somalia. And yes, we contribute funds across the board, the humanitarian side, which obviously comes from my department, but obviously on the security side and on the military side, on the peacekeeping side, but also on the police side. Now, we work together obviously in terms of training, but also providing financial support and provisions. And that is something we are committed to doing and we have been doing. And going forward, that is part of our partnership agreement with Somalia, and so we will continue to stay there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much.